Okay, so can you remember the first time when you heard rock music?
The first time I heard rock music must have been, I think, Queen News of the World,
Mhm.
that album. I was like, 6 years old when that album came out. And I remember when We Will Rock You started, it was completely mind blowing. It was like unlike anything else I heard before, like with that groove. And then,
Mm.
the vocals, everything was just so direct and in your face. And then when the guitar solo at the very end kicked in, it was just amazing. And then it went right on this album into
Mhm.
We Are the Champions, then Sheer Heart Attack, and then All Dead, that song, and everything. There was like such a wide variety and palette that Queen had to offer. And for me as a child, it was just, yeah, that's it. I decided to make music because of that album, probably.
Do you remember, did you concentrate on the drums or the guitars, or what was the attraction there?
I did both a little bit, more the songwriting overall. Guitar and drums are still my main instruments, but I also learn keyboards. But yeah, I
Mhm.
pay attention a lot to all of these things. I never, honestly, never really paid a lot of attention to drummers or something like that. I mean, yes, I was interested in
Mhm.
and loved drumming, but I was not a drum geek, never really was, even though I was interested. Same with guitars. I love it. Guitars,
Mhm.
I'm like also completely about tone, about like,
Yes.
the playing and stuff. And drums is a supporting instrument for the music. It was just, well, it really is, isn't it? But since I also am interested in the technical side of that, when I heard like bands like Jethro Tull,
Mhm.
Barrymore Barlow, and or the Police with Stuart Copeland,
Oh yeah.
or John Bonham with Led Zeppelin. That was really the first time where I actually did pay attention to the drums, where I thought like, oh shit, when I listened to Houses of the Holy, that album from Led Zeppelin, and then The Song Remains the Same kicked in, and I was playing along as a drummer, and I thought like, oh, hang on, this guy is really good. And I was
Mhm.
like, when I heard Zeppelin, I must have been, oh, how 8 or 9 years old, but I started playing along my favorite music. But that was the first time where I thought like, ooh, it's nice to play along, and
Yeah.
this guy is good. There's timing, there's groove, and everything is. I mean, not that the others don't have it, but it was like just very noticeable, and
Yeah.
especially yeah, players like him.
Do you have that moment in your head when you kind of realize that maybe I should start playing drums also?
Yeah, I think yeah, I wasn't. It wasn't really my idea to start playing
Okay.
drums.
Yeah.
It was more my father's, and
Mhm.
I was always loved. I love to play on pillows and stuff. The typical thing when I heard like Kiss Alive One or something. And also Queen or Zeppelin, those bands. But I was also playing air guitar a lot, so I was like always drawn, to those specific instruments. And it was really my father, when I joined in, one of his colleagues and friends from his work had a band or has a band, and they were jamming, and I was, he took me to the rehearsals, and I sat behind the drum kit, and we started jamming on, I think, a Beatles song or whatever it was. And the guys were really surprised. And the guitar player looked at me and looked at my father and goes like, "Hey, this guy is really talented. You should get him a drum set or something," because I was able
Mhm.
immediately to follow the groove. It felt natural to me.
Mhm.
So the drummer then gave me a snare drum, and then my father, before I got a drum kit, which, like I said, it was never really a full idea of mine to play drums. But he
Mhm.
says, like, I think I had sort of a consciousness, kind of thinking about, maybe I should kind of pick up that. He goes like, maybe you should learn harmony first. So
Mhm.
I took organ lessons, like literally
Oh,
with like
wow.
two organs, like this, that, and then foot bass. So I played that for a few years, and then I went actually really to drums.
Yeah.
And I guess the organ approach helped me to develop my independence and also take that
Yeah.
concept to the drum set. So that was like really the thing, and it was really just by accident. I saw like a drum kit in the at Pro Percussion Center in Hanover, like a music store, in the window, and I said to my father, "I was like, oh, look, cool, the drum kit." And he looks at the drum kit, looks at me, looks at the drum kit again, and turns over to me and goes like, "You want to play drums?" Like, wow, really? I said like, "What?" Yeah, he says like, "Well, but if I buy you this, then you gotta take lessons and take this serious." And
Mm.
I wanted to make him proud and happy, I suppose, you know, because, you know, I thought like, man, if he's buying me all that shit, then I want to also make sure, you know,
Yeah,
that
of
I'm
course.
happy with it.
D-
So there
Do,
you
do
go.
you
That was
think do you think that it would benefit a lot of drummers to take up like an harmony instrument like organ or
yes.
piano?
Well, from experience, I can say yes.
Mhm.
I don't know, you know, how everybody else's journey is, you know, but I highly can recommend it because I'm a writer, you know, I write music and you know, compose, and so you learn through that to respect the other instruments a little more and to listen to which part is important and not blow over an important guitar riff or something, you know what I
Mm,
mean? Like leave
yeah.
space where space is needed and fill the space when it's your turn, you know. So these are, I think, this is a concept, I guess, you know, that should be respected in all music, you know, styles and
Mm,
with every instrument.
yeah, you kind of look at that as a musician rather than just, you know, a flesh groove box in a way.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, if I'm doing a drum clinic or a drum festival, well, hell yeah, I will play a drum solo, you know,
Yeah.
but you know, if you hear me with my bands or when I play live or in the studio, then I'll try to play as musical as possible.
Yeah, of course. Do you
Unless,
remember? Yeah.
unless, you know, somebody wants you to kind of, you know, look, I play different productions with Joe Satriani, for example. It was very focused, you know, on the groove and the song, but then kind of, you know, do fills whenever needed, you know, or wanted, or, you know, whatever you call it, requested. Or now with Steven Wilson, for example, that was a completely different thing. He really wanted me to kind of
Yeah.
completely go nuts on those 2 studio albums we did. He was like, "Oh, go crazy, go crazy! I love it." He basically wanted me to be a lead drummer, as he would call it. I was like,
Hmm.
"Well, okay, if you insist, then there you go." So it was like almost like a, yeah, very prog jazz rock band, you know. So yeah, so these are the things too, whatever you get hired for, you know. But my
Mm.
personal opinion is really to play for the song.
Mm. Which gigs do you find perhaps more personally satisfying? The kind of gigs where you can go apeshit on drums, or the one where you are kind of just grooving, you know?
Well, both a little bit, isn't it? I guess, you know, the golden middle is always the thing, you know, where I
Yeah.
mean, look, I love sometimes sitting in the jams and playing Led Zeppelin songs, you know, or
Mhm.
AC/DC songs or something. And I mean, if you play Back in Black and play the wrong fill, that's a sacrilege. You know, you
That's
have
true.
to. It feels just so good to glue, you know, with this
Hmm.
riff, isn't it? You know,
Hmm.
so that's one of those things. And then on the other hand, you know, if you do like a Rush thing or something, it
Oh
is
yeah,
just
yeah.
fantastic to wait for the fills and kind of
Mm.
do stuff, you know.
Yeah, and like you said, the sort of golden path on the middle where you can have someone like Neil Peart, you know, play a lot of nice grooves on the 80s Rush and then blast away on another song. And so
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it was a very unique band, you know, beautiful music, uh, great facility as well here and there. Right? Well, mostly, obviously, yes, a great band, one of my favorite bands, and
oh
just the
yeah,
lyrics are very good as
yeah,
well.
of course.
Neil was such a good lyricist, you know, as well.
Yeah, and the idea that drummer making the lyrics, you know, that's an interesting one, I would
It
say.
is really, it is, you know, but it's such a great band, and I'm working with Alex Lifeson
Oh wow.
for 5 years now. He's playing on my solo albums. We
Mhm.
sometimes also we even did like a release together, and he's just like a great to work with. And when you hear him deliver the guitar tracks, it's scary cool because
Of course.
You hear Rush coming out of his hands. You literally get like, you know, those guitar tracks and you import them to your song and you think like, fuck, I'm hearing Rush, you know.
Yeah, that's I feel like it's a lot of the same with Brian May, that if you hear him
Oh,
somewhere, you immediately that's Brian May, you know, that's Queen, you know.
incredible, isn't it?
So,
Yeah.
and I would say to the degree you are the same, that a lot of people can hear you and they are like, that's Marco.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind.
Of course. Did you remember the first proper gig you got as a drummer?
First proper gig as a drummer. Eh, well, I guess, you know, I started playing concerts already when I was like, well,
Hmm.
12 or 13 years old with the band from my drum teacher. with his kids actually, and they were pretty talented and cool. So we did like a few, jazz rock gigs. That was what we were really doing. And my first, well, proper band, as you would call it, with a record contract or something, that must have been a band called the Freaky Fucking Weirdos, and they were like, from from Germany, and cool
Did
band.
it live up to the name?
Yeah, very much. Oh, yes, absolutely. And but good band, in a way. And we had a major record label, BMG Records and RCA, at that time, and did a bunch of albums, and toured around the world. And yeah, I was like, in my late teens, early 20s, when we kind of started going out then. So yeah, that was my first time being thrown into rock and roll.
How did it go? Was it a success, or did you have nervous, or?
No, not really. I mean, the first few gigs, absolutely. But other than that, it was actually a really pleasant time. Yeah, we were not, it was like a completely, how do you say? It's like, by that time, we were just about to get started, had like, pretty good budget, for the records and all those kind of things. But, we still were establishing, with getting a draw, and just, we would play like in front of 1,500 people or something. But as most people know, when you start touring with a band, it's first of all rough, and then, over the years it gets a little better. That was like the same, with those guys a little bit.
What was for you the thing on the first gigs that got you hooked? Was it the audience, the playing, or a combination, or?
Yeah, well, it's the bond, isn't it, between the audience and the band, because I always say that, but I think it's important, if you give energy to the people, they bring energy back. And if it's positive energy and it's about like, some craft that you kind of spend time, and passion of doing, and you kind of have fun playing it on stage, then your voice likely will get heard, and people will bring this positive energy back. I guess, that's also how you create a following. And if you kind of, cherish that bond, and you keep truthful to what you do, and you keep making music and playing with joy, then I guess, you will keep these fans forever,
Do
so
you still? Yeah,
I mean, that was like more a reason, to play live, rather than kind of, just and go on the stage and go like, oh, I don't care what the audience thinks. That's wrong. I do care.
Yeah, and like you took the path of being like a live musician as well as doing other things, because some people, they just go for the studio musician route, or at least used to back in the day. So why didn't you just choose to, I'm just gonna stay in the studio? Was it playing live, the audience, like you said, or did you just find it a bit weird to just sit inside and play drums all the day for somebody's record?
Oh, well, here's the thing. I mean, I have my music studio here, and I do a lot of studio work. I love being a studio musician as well. I do literally 50%, literally, but going out is something different. And, it's just like you have like this direct energy exchange, and you just play and have fun. There is like something about it. The studio thing, I like the same way, because I can just, refine my ideas, and kind of, try to play the best I can, refine the sounds, so in fact, when we end the session, I have like a drum session already kind of, set up, and I will kind of do that. So it's, for me, a lot of learning, it's both actually. Live and studio, I think, are equally as important, because you have to learn, to how do you say that, to speak, with the audience and with your band members, and kind of create something powerful as a vehicle that transports, and kind of lives in the live situation. Now, studio to me is like really just about like refining sounds and accuracy. That is like a thing. You learn a lot being a studio musician, just kind of, playing to the songs, and then listening back and see like, is it the right thing I do? Could I kind of, come up with something different, and getting better and better with sounds. That's kind of a thing that a musician in general should really take care of.
How much of that would you then say, if you're playing with Aristocrats or whoever, how much more do you play live versus in studio? Because of course in studio it's a different setting. You don't have the instant feedback from, unless you're doing like off the floor kind of thing. But how much does that differ there?
Well, with the Aristocrats, it's a cool thing, isn't it? Because yeah, live, it is just like a very direct exchange, so it's strangely enough, we as a band also function almost the same way in the studio because we play live. We even record as a live band.
Off the floor, yeah.
Yeah, so the audience is basically us, ourselves kind of listening to each other. And if somebody of us plays like a cool thing and the others start laughing or paying attention, then that's literally like being in a live environment, in a way, isn't it? The only bonus you have is like you can redo things if it's shit. You can overdub, right? But I have to say though, I love when we're in the studio. I love recording with how do you say, like, sometimes just by myself. Like we did like two songs of the new album in our separate studios at home. And honestly, the song especially was like a very lengthy song that everybody brings in 3 songs of our band, and one of my 3 songs was actually this time a 10-minute long piece, which is like very, very complex, has like many parts. And I wanted to really go in with the conscious of knowing exactly what I want to do in the parts, refine them, having the chance to kind of go in and move things around. I mean, we do this in the studio live as well. When we play a take, we take time and kind of fix certain things. But it's different. When you're at home, you have unlimited time. There is no studio clock. There's nobody waiting. So you can deliver really what you hear inside of your head. So to me, a studio setting kind of, defines of really taking time and being like very particular about parts.
Yeah, I get that totally. Now, what would you say for you was an impactful lesson that you got early on your career, whether it's about drums or being a musician in general?
Let me see. Well, I would say, a big impact was, like I said earlier, the energy exchange. When I walked up the very first concert experience I ever had playing as a 12-year-old kid. Well, I told that story many times, so I might tell it because some people haven't heard it. But I remember my drum teacher, after literally only 2 lessons or something, said to my mom, or to my parents, to my mom and my dad, he needs to go on stage with my band and sit in for a few songs. He has really amazing talent. We need to bring him on stage. And I just thought like, oh, cool. And then I thought like, oh shit, I need to be on. Oh, okay, is that weird? So because I've never played in front of an audience before, so I was like really nervous. And so it was on a Sunday, a little open air. And I remember I was sitting in the car. And when my mom parked the car, and I was ready with my sticks in the car playing, practicing a bit, felt pretty confident. And then I saw all of a sudden when we stopped in front, like on this parking spot, and I saw like the stage far away, like across the street, all those people, I got so scared that I couldn't get out of the car. And my mom actually goes like, do you want to play or should I drive you home? It's up to you. And I said like, nah, drive me home. So I missed my first show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she drove me back home. And by that time, my drum teacher then already called when we were home. And I thought like, oh, he's going to give me a hard time. But he didn't. And that was good. I just heard like, literally say, oh, okay, pass him over. I was like, oh, shit, here comes the rain. And then he goes like, you were scared, were you? And I was like, yes, I was. He goes like, look, I understand. But he says, you have talent, please come back next week. You should experience this. So next week I went, and next week I played. So the thing was, when he called my name today, it was like, when somebody announces me and I go on stage, it's fun. You smile, you walk on stage and play. By that time, he goes like, we have this new talent, blah, 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 Marco Minnemann. And I just thought like, shit, okay. So I walked up the stairs. I heard like every footstep, like
like
I was like being in like a soap bubble or something. I was like, oh God. So I sat behind the drums, started playing, didn't even look into the audience, and just kind of concentrating on playing the song right. And then first part went well. Second one, there was like a midsection, cool. I was like, only 2 minutes left, that's fine. And then I had a little drum solo in that song over like 32 bars or something. I was like, oh, here it comes. And I, trained how I kind of, played it. I did some accents down. It was like a big band kind of thing. And then I went back to the arrangement. I was like, ah, cool, didn't drop a stick. Everything went well. Only 1 minute left, fine. But then this impact thing happened, because when I started to get back into the arrangement, I all of a sudden heard clapping. And I thought like, oh shit, something must have gone wrong. Is the song already over? Am I still playing? And then I looked for the first time up into the audience, and they were all smiling and clapping at me. And I was like, oh shit, they liked this little drum solo that I played over that band. So I smiled back, but I felt all of a sudden this chip flew off my shoulder, and all of a sudden I didn't want to leave the stage anymore. You know what I mean? So that was the thing, where I thought like, oh, when I give the energy to the people, they bring it back. So to me, the stage was since then a sacred experience on audience. And that was to me an impact. That was definitely the thing where I thought like, yep, I never want to lose that bond anymore.
Well, and that's just a way to learn it. That's almost like in the movie Whiplash, the ending.
You know what? A little bit it is.
Yeah.
There were like a few of those moments I had with certain bands or with certain festivals, even as a drummer, Modern Drummer Festival. When I played the Modern Drummer Festival in 1998 or something. But that was a big impact as well. I felt something changed. Yeah, 98 or 99. And it was clear as daylight. All of a sudden, everything completely changed. All of a sudden, all doors went open. Everybody was interested. And it was also the time for solo musicians to express themselves. So Warner Brothers signed me for DVDs, for books, and all kinds of shit. I started working with Paul Gilbert, then with Joe Satriani later, and then all those cool bands with the Buddy Rich big band, who is actually in my DVD. What an honor, shit like this, where you think like, wow, okay. So that was another big impact where I all of a sudden felt I did something valuable for the drum community.
Yeah.
Now,
sure.
It's a double-edged sword a little bit, because I started as a composer and did albums. Then all of a sudden, there was this focus on me as a drummer. And then it took me literally about like 5 years to get rid of that, to then be established again as a composer, writer, but with the drum element. So the Aristocrats was like a blessing, because I can do both. But once you get kind of, and I know a lot of guitar players had that same problem, like, it's not a problem, it's actually a good thing. Like, Steve Vai or Joe Satriani and stuff. There was a time when the most extreme thing they did as a musician is the one they get measured at. You know what I mean? And that's kind of a thing. So, so Steve Vai is the guy who is that shredder.
Yeah.
Or Marco Minnemann is the independence guy. Or, there were like those times, right? And it takes literally years to then kind of, stir that back and go like, oh, hang on. They're actually a cool band. He's in the Aristocrats, and that's fucking great. It took a while, because you get labeled. You get labeled as this guy.
Of course, and that's like if you're someone like Devin Townsend, you also get labeled as, you get labeled as somebody who does everything, and that can also be, limiting, even if you're doing everything.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely that.
We've been talking a bit about guitar players, but I want to draw to bass players because they're also part of the rhythm section, important to you. So what kind of bass player do you personally find you enjoy playing with the most? What kind of approach the bass player has?
Well, obviously, the ones who glue with you, who have like a great groove.
Yeah, sure, of course.
Or, there are like, fantastic solo bass players actually as well, who have a lot of vocabulary, but
like in your band.
Like in my band, yeah, true. Brian, he can play.
He can bust out the solo.
Yeah, he can do things, but he also has a nice sound and a very strong groove, so. And there's Mohini Day as well, who I played with a lot, or sometimes still do, obviously, and she's actually great in that kind of realm as well, because last year she played in one of my other bands I have with Randy McStein together, and she was great. First of all, Randy also thought like, oh my god, so you may be playing too much, or is it kind of glue for the rock songs? Absolutely not. She was completely obeying the songs, the structure and the groove of it. But yeah, if there's a solo spot, she would go crazy, and we would do together like a conical thing, And for bass and drums, that completely works, especially when you kind of, have like the slap thing going and whatnot, So yeah, it's but what I prefer, what I prefer is like, basically, if people can do both, if they're not limited, by a good tone, I guess, here to get to the core, bass wise, a strong tone, a very good tone is to me very important. There's nothing worse than a tinny bass.
Yes, that's true. Nobody wants to hear that. You have
Yeah,
to feel in with the bass drum and everything. So
bass, what's it called? Bass.
Yeah, and tone is luckily getting more and more important. There's Dark-class people doing all they can for the bass tone.
Yeah.
when you play gigs, do you have like a warm-up routine that's specific for you, or what do you do before you get up on the stage?
Actually, nothing. It's whiskey. No, I was kidding.
No, whiskey. Warming up literally.
Well, yeah, exactly. Sometimes. Rarely. I remember like Roger Taylor from Queen. What was it? His ritual was, and Brian May too, like 1 glass of whiskey. Roger Taylor, I think he has 2 shots of whiskey before, not less and not more. That kind of thing before a show. If I believe that, but I guess that was the thing.
Probably true.
Was that?
Probably true. I'm sure they did that.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. But Guthrie and myself, we talk about this a lot. We were like, we don't practice, before or warm up really. It's just like, it would be like eating a meal before eating a meal. I don't really.
Yeah, I get that.
Like already playing. The thing is, obviously, if you haven't played for a while, or if it's cold and it's open air or something, then you warm up. But we're talking about players who play a lot. Like we are like literally always playing. Like I say, I'm here in the studio doing my stuff and composing and playing all the time. And live, we gig, and we have almost every day a show. So you can also overdo it, and that's kind of a thing. So I think the less you play before a show, the better, because you want to reunite with your instrument and feel fresh, So like, there you are. There you go. Yeah.
So it's rather not warming up, but you're just never cooling down in a sense, because you're always on.
But it's we're always in shape, you always kind of want to keep like the system oiled,
Exactly.
You don't want to play like 6 or 7 hours a day, but if you play like 2 hours a day, that's actually pretty good. It's like, it's almost like being an athlete a little bit, actually it is. It's like, if you're a bicycle rider, which I actually am, I'm a huge bicycle enthusiast. You feel like, every day when you ride, when you get in shape, you just feel it, and when you kind of stop doing that for a month or two, you feel how your body needs to get back into it. And I guess, that's like a lot of times what people make mistakes with, like certain musicians, who come off a tour and then don't play for 2 months or 3 months. And then they start getting, especially when they get older, start to get problems with their hands and feet and whatnot. Well, guess what? Obviously, because if you don't keep the routine, then it's going to get harder to get back into it. So I guess, to keep going, see other people go to work, you know what I mean? I play music and I love playing music. A day without music would be weird.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah. So for the last question, I would like to talk a bit about the Finnish audience, because you're coming to Finland, obviously. Again, you are very much friends of Finland. I can see touring here all the time. So when you play in front of a Finnish audience, how do you feel there? Is it the same to any audience, or how is the Finnish crowd towards you guys?
How is the Finnish crowd? I really like Finland, and we played there a lot. I played there with a lot of bands.
Yeah.
And all I can say is like Finland feels like very familiar to me, because I grew up not that far away. I grew up in the north of Germany, like from the northern part especially. So we have like an almost similar mentality. And so audiences are very, it's kind of strange. Obviously, if you compare it to an audience in Argentina or something, it's very different, because Argentina is like a soccer game.
Yeah.
places like Finland, or people listen. Well, not that the others don't; they also listen, but I'm more like, here we are, and then we
and
have
the
a few
arms crossed.
like reactions are a little more moderate, but still dedicated. So
yes.
and I have always fantastic times in Finland because everything feels very personal, and I like that. Because especially when we play places like Anakoski or it's like a little yeah, exactly.
Smallest possible. No, well, not smallest.
Farthest possible way. Right?
Yeah,
Where you go like, but there's something very cool about it, And after the show, the people you meet, they really want to be your friend, and you kind of drink some beers and talk about like deep topics, and everybody takes the time and it's fantastic. I really like it, So yeah. No. I mean, I'm looking forward to coming back, definitely.
And this is going to be probably my 5th time seeing Aristocrats, so it's going to be.
Oh wow, where did you see us? In Helsinki?
In Tampere and Jyväskylä, I also think that you played.
Jyväskylä,
yeah, and Helsinki, of course. Yeah, because obviously when you guys come, it's musicians come there. Let's just say that every musician comes to see you guys, and hopefully there are a lot of non-musicians too. But
yeah. Well, look, that's what we kind of attracted. But I'm obviously very happy. Very happy about it actually, because I'd rather have an audience who understands what we do.
Yeah, of course.
Some people who just kind of talk or drink and want to just and stuff like that. They can go to a Katy Perry show. That's fine. Nothing.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Different.
It's no judgment there or something. But for us, with the musicianship that we and the dedication that we put into what we do in our craft, I guess, we really like, if people pay attention to the details.
Because you work so hard, and you do a lot of different things, of course.
Every song, we work on, we make sure that it's kind of a labor of love. When we present it, we are proud of these songs. It's just not like the thing where you think like, oh, cool, we can have them sing along here and there. Yeah, we will, and there's like maybe a few spots we liked it, but the main focus is really about like, do people like the music? Is it valuable, so much.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point to end this on. Very profound. Once again, thank you so much for taking your time from your busy schedule, and especially after all this hassle here.
Not that busy. It's not busy today. I just have like one contract. It's a quick one, and then I go on a bicycle tour. So there you go.
Yeah, well, you do one take and then just on the road.
There you go.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much, and I'm waiting really to see you guys again.
Thank you so much. See you surprisingly soon, and I would say in a very good way.
Definitely see you.
Looking forward to seeing you. And okay, cool. So have a wonderful night over there. And
I will go to sleep soon.
Absolutely. All right.
Thank you so much. See you, man.
Bye. Cheers.